European stocks closed lower on the last trading day of March, a month marked by global geopolitical and economic uncertainty after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia's invasion of Ukraine rattled global financial and energy markets, causing oil prices to spike and financial instruments to fall after Russian troops moved into Ukraine by air, land and sea. However, the geopolitical uncertainty and concerns over rising inflation has dominated market sentiment in March as both European and US markets traded lower Wednesday following disappointment after talks between Russia and Ukraine aimed to finding a solution to the conflict again appeared to make little progress. To join me to look at what's happening with global stocks, I have joining me from the United Kingdom, startup founder of WealthHackers, Mr. Olugbenga Onifade. Mr. Onifade, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very well. I'd like you to take us through the effect of all of this, despite all of the moves, sanctions and all that we've seen. What's the impact on the global market?
How long have you got? Where do you unpack this? So on the 24th of February, as we all know, we all woke up to bombs in Ukraine as a result of Russia, for reasons personal to Russia, of course. And as a result of that, I think this was met with sanctions from the world leaders and different world economies. But in this, in this now day and age, how do you fight a global superpower like Russia, which is another, nuclear armed, territory economy? And the world decided to go with sanctions, of course. So the MO exchange, which is the Russian exchange in Moscow, it's actually been shut down since then. I think gradually they're easing into opening now. So there are some Russian stocks exchanges which is traded, which is listed foreign in the United Kingdom, in the United States of America. They've all been curtailed now. So if you do have them, fortunately, you would have to be able to sell at a loss. Initially, you can't even sell, but eventually, when it was opened last week, you all opened to we're talking about great grandstanding losses to people. Do have a few people who are exposed to that, number one. Number two, even in Russia, they've just opened it now. There's what they call shorting of the market, where you take advantage of the market while it's going down, because most people, they do buy stocks and they invest and they profit from it when it's going up, but when it's going down, they do actually short the market. So Russia's actually banned that from people profiting or profiteering from a losing asset, literally. So that's an effect on that one angle. On another angle, we all know Russia supplies Europe. I think 40% of Germany, for example, of the oil comes from Russia, and about 30% comes from gas, for which Russia tried to cushion the effects yesterday, saying they all have to start paying in rubles. Otherwise, they will threaten to cut it off. By all means, understanding it. So I don't see Russia doing that, because that's the only means of funding the war right now. Russia gets about 400 million euros daily from the European Union in funding this. But as a result of that, the European Union have actually decided to go through a different means, like an emergency. And they, we all want to protect the world, but they thought, what? How do we call it? Fast action is deserved in this case, if I can say that. So they decided to just take the ball into their hands, and they're just going to start going into drilling. America's always been looking into tapping in the European market. Sorry, I'm not giving you a word to get in there. Sorry. America's been looking to get into the European market for a while now, which they termed their oil the freedom gas. But as a result of this now, America decided they're going to tap into their reserves, drilling about 1 million barrels of oil daily. America is actually one of the best global reserves of oil and gas in the world, even though they do prefer to import rather than just export it. And I think they do have about 25 billion in reserves. So they decided they're going to tap into them now, because we know oil and gas has just gone through the roof. The Russian rubles, just gone down to the floor. Of course, back at home in Nigeria, we have been affected as a result of this impact. And now bread's surge has gone up, because Russia supplies about, I think Russia supplies most of the wheat which we offer in Nigeria, which poultry farmers are required, which they do need. But it's gone up now. The federal government usually supplies, supports the farmers, the wheat importers, with about $2 billion annually. Now we're going to have to double that. coupled with inflation at home, there's just a lot more. It goes on to new cars, which Russia manufacture. They've got the world reserves of palladium and platinum, which goes into what's this exhaust, which helps, of course, pollution because we cannot import things because of this impact of sanctions. That is actually been causing another effect whereby even used cars are now more expensive than brand new cars because you can't just really get them. It's impacted supply chains everywhere. It's just been disrupted as a result.
Brilliant submission. Let's look at commodities now. You've touched on some of them: wheat, maize, oil and gas, and all of that. I see an opportunity here for a country like Nigeria. What are you thinking? Particularly with gas.
Absolutely, yes. I was actually discussing with one of the oil executives just a week ago. Where do we go from here? Because best of my knowledge, Nigeria's actually been flaring the gas. We've been wasting this gas, which is real daily money for Russia. One of the things you've got to think about is we do struggle even locally within Shell and the other other oil corporations in Nigeria. We do struggle to even distribute oil within Nigeria. So now, if we're going to think about building the infrastructure just to pass on this liquefied gas, as a result, in a form of liquefied to the economies where it is required, I think we do have an opportunity there, but it's going to be a lost waste advantage because firstly we've got to be able to combat the insecurity, which will prevent a sabotage. Because if you think about it, come rain, come sunshine, there's going to be summer and then there's going to be winter. It's never failed since the birth of Jesus, if I can say that. And Europe would not be, they would not be pleased with any form of disruption at all. And I think that's something we need to do really before we actually, be able to kill this fly. Got to make sure that the environment is actually pleasant. And this is an opportunity for us, but I will call it a missed opportunity because I'm sure this must have been thought about because Nigeria is one of the world leaders in gas and oil exploration. However, we cannot take advantage of this because we've got the local, how do I call it? I don't want to call them terrorists, but we've got local bandits to deal with, and this could just cause a huge impact, and it might just be something which is probably just a waste at the end of the day. So we can't even explore that until we can ensure adequate security and guaranteed and be made consistent for a few period of time.
Almost finally, let's now, reality is staring us in the eye and a lot of projections and reprojections. What's your outlook for all of the markets, particularly the global side? You're in the UK. What would you say about work? It seems like COVID, yes, COVID's still there, but I think a lot of works and everyone is getting back to their day-to-day regular activities. So what are your expectations regards to that market, even if we have the profit taking, is even what we face here in Nigeria?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, early last year, towards it late last year, I did predict 2022 was going to be the world warming back and easing up into things whereby, we will have to just, cushion, whatever effects of COVID just going to have to be killed, or whatever the idea. We have to make what we call a forced entry into the world. However, unfortunately, there's just something about the world, and which is a shame, really. We can't seem to trust the data from China as a result, because I think initially when COVID started, China must have agreed to just about 10 people dying from COVID. But now, right now, Shanghai has been shut down for 1 week in April. I think the first week in April, Shanghai has been shut down. We all know that China is the manufacturing hub of the world. But because if you cannot import things from China, then there's nothing you can do, because that is where most manufacturers are based. And if they're shutting down, that's actually affecting us. So we can't, and we haven't really got much alternatives. That's number one. So when it comes to supply chain, that's just been totally destroyed or disrupted. People cannot go out. I mean, you cannot manufacture while sitting at home. We're talking about on the global scale. So that's number one. Number two, speaking of commodities again, Russia, which is actually a huge one, and we've got Ukraine as well, which, I mean, these guys they border each other. Ukraine is actually another huge commodity exporter, but things have been damaged overall. There's war on ground. Nobody can go to a mining site when there's war on the ground. So all commodities just it's just gone through the roof as a result of that as well. Copper is a no-go. Everyone is actually rethinking this strategy and rethinking of tapping alternative sources. But these things do take time. So I believe 2022 is going to be a very terribly difficult year. In the UK, today has been termed a bloody Friday because, the expenses in utilities have actually gone up. There's no alternative. Governments are withdrawing. They've got to find a way to take or to make back all the money they did not make, that they lost or that they distributed during COVID in 2020. So different governments are implementing different ways of taxing the populace just to be able to get it back. So the market's not looking excited at the minute, and I think there's worse to come for 2022, unfortunately.
Mr. Onifade, I must thank you so much for your time from the United Kingdom, the startup founder of WealthHackers. Thank you so much, and do enjoy your weekend. Happy New Month to you.
Happy New Month to you too. Thank you.